Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Cutter from Curetology, Surgical Oncology, and I'm your host, excuse me, for Health from the Inside Out. I'm so glad to be here with you. We are in part 2 of a 2-part series where our guest is Dr. Carson. Dr. Carson is a celebrated obstetrician and gynecologist in San Diego. And on top of that, she has seen fit to get certifications in obesity medicine and functional medicine. And in part 1 of our 2-part series, we talked a lot about functional medicine, what it was, and how someone might approach getting something treated in that environment. It is more, not so much symptom-based, but more systems-based, taking a look at the patient as a total and also looking at the root cause for what they're experiencing. But we also started to talk about how we can address some of those issues that are identified in functional medicine. And one of the things that came up in our discussion is obesity medicine and obesity. So we do talk a lot about obesity on this show. I mean, hey, I talk about it a lot all the time. It's one of my passions just in terms of how it dovetails with oncology and treating patients because, as you may recall, it is the number 1 modifiable risk factor for cancer as it's overtaking tobacco. Okay, so it's emerging, I should say, as the number 1 modifiable risk factor for cancer, taking over tobacco and replacing it. So it's really important for us to talk about these things, but it's not just so much for cancer risks, it's also for some health risks. So I want to bring Dr. Carson back so we can talk a little bit about weight management and healthful eating. And I actually have a bunch of questions that kind of deal more with the psychology aspect of it and the frustrations that I hear from a lot of patients. So, Dr. Carson, are you ready to switch gears?
Gears.
You're ready to switch gears. I love it. She's always game. She's full of energy. This is the youngest looking, bright smiling, physician that I know. I said that on the prior segment, but every time I see her face on the screen, I think, oh my gosh, if we could all be so lucky and look so lovely. How long have you been in practice again?
Oh my, for about 25 years. Yeah.
I love
including
it.
Residency. Yeah.
I love it because nobody's ever going to believe that, right? She looks so good, And this is what healthful practices can do for you. I met Dr. Carson, as I said earlier, during a fitness activity in Palm Springs. And one time she and I were on the phone and she was telling me, we were talking and she got a little distracted. I said, hey, what was that? She's like, oh, that's my son. He wants to go on a bike ride. So he's laying out my outfit, for me to wear so we could take this bike ride. And I think, this is how you stay fit and healthy. You have a fit and healthy family, people who are focused on good health throughout your household, and it makes it a lot easier. Do you agree with that, Dr. Carson?
Is a strength and conditioning coach, and he actually has a master's in education with emphasis in physical education. So yeah, it does make a difference. Although sometimes you just don't want to live with your accountability partner.
Right, because it's like, what are you doing eating that? Like, just give me a break. Let me just eat a little something here. Okay, so let's just jump right into weight management. I have a bunch of questions, really not so much about the bits and bytes of how do you lose weight and all that. I want to talk about, some of the thought life because, like we say on the show, being health from the inside out, it really starts with mindset, right? And what we put into our mind, our body, our spirit, as I said earlier. So it just seems to me like, so many people are always like, I have to lose weight, I have to lose weight, I have to lose weight. Where do you think our preoccupation with body size, body image comes from?
Well, I think a lot of it comes from, unfortunately, the media. And the terrible part is our young women just being tormented with these images that are unobtainable or that have been surgically obtained, which, no person could ever obtain that type of physique or whatever that is being presented. But, we're in big trouble in this country. The obesity epidemic really intensified the pandemic, to have 675,000 people in this country die from COVID-19 over the last 18 months or so. A high percentage of those patients were overweight or obese.
Right.
And that contributed tremendously to their morbidity and their mortality when they became infected with the virus. So
Right.
I think that obesity is the center of really is the center of almost all disease processes.
You know, it used to be back in Greek and Roman times, you had those kind of fluffy looking women, who were considered beautiful and voluptuous. And then even like in I can't remember when Marilyn Monroe was alive. What is that, the 20s or the 30s, something like that, maybe the 40s. But, I think she was like a size 10. And she was considered very beautiful. But then along came the 60s and we had Twiggy. And then all of a sudden everybody wanted to be a size 2. And now it's really important to be a size 00. Do you help your clients get to the 00 size?
Oh, no. Actually, we just try to be realistic about really body set points, because your body wants to be a certain size. And
I want to talk about that so much, body set points. Keep going, and we're going to dig into body set points. I'm excited about this topic.
Yeah. So, and your body, the things that we eat and the toxins and the things in our diet makes our bodies think that we are in starvation mode when we're not.
Right.
And it just starts storing almost everything that we eat as fat. So I think that, with the right diet and talking to people about, like their mindset when it comes to food or nutrition is going to be really important.
You bring up a really good point. I have read that, let's say that a person is overweight. Let's say that they're obese. And we're going to use BMIs for this conversation, everyone, and, try to follow along. But, let's say they have a BMI of 35 and they are successful in getting down to 30. But, the body's set point might be at 35. Is there a way to readjust that set point so that they're not having those cravings and wanting to eat? How do you readjust the set point?
Well, the set point could be readjusted by nutrition, because actually what is happening is that the bacteria in the gut are firing off neurotransmitters. The gut actually has the most neurotransmitters in the body. And those neurotransmitters are being sent to the brain and telling you, I'm hungry, I want carbs, I'm starving, you need to eat. Well, you can change that microbiome in 24 to 72 hours just with eating a more colorful fruits and vegetables diet, eating lean meats, being hydrated, being able to get rid of the toxins in your body. Because as you lose weight, fat is full of toxins. You got to get the toxins out. You got to get them out of your bloodstream. You got to get them out by hydration and urination and by defecation, having very good bowel movements very frequently. So these are the things that we talk about when we're going through our weight loss program.
I love it. The 3 Asians, right? Hydration, urination, and defecation. So don't forget it. That's what our goals are. This is what we're working toward. Okay, everybody, the 3 Asians. No, I'm making a joke, but I actually talk to my patients about that. I'm also trained in obesity medicine, and, it's very near and dear to my heart. So I'm kind of flipping back and forth between host and, advocate here. So I'm going to try to stay in the host mode. I like what you said about the diet and feeding the body healthful things. What are some of the strategies that you recommend to people in terms of sourcing that? I find that in this country, our food supply is not the best. I go to other countries, you visit, you order a salad, and like the tomatoes taste like tomatoes and the carrots taste like carrots. Here, it might taste like a carrot. It might taste like something crunchy and bland. So are we now advocating for people to have gardens in their homes or on their balconies, to grow their own vegetables, grow their own herbs? What do you tell people in terms of sourcing their food stuffs?
Well, I think over the last year and a half, we saw a lot of people who were just stuck at home. And then all of a sudden, it was the DIY nation. Yeah. And people were doing all kinds of things and starting gardens. I saw beautiful gardens being started by, Facebook friends and people online. So that would be great if people had the time to do that. But if they don't, then I just try to talk to them about strategies when they go to the grocery store. One, don't go to the grocery store hungry. Because if you go hungry, you're going to buy a bunch of things that you don't really really want or need. That microbiome's going to start talking about those Fritos or those Cheetos or whatever it is. And just, I tell them to stay in the periphery of the store. You know, the middle of the store is where all the bad stuff is, where all the processed foods were, where things that isn't even real food.
Right,
so
right. I was just having this conversation with someone. There's a great series. Now the nerd in me is going to come out. And so I'm not embarrassed because I'm proud to be a nerd. But there's a great series on television that talks about the origin of food in this country, you know, and the foods that, you know, kind of make America great. But one of them talks about the creation of those corn chip snacks that you talked about that have cheese on them, and that there was a surplus of powdered cheese on the standpoint of the government. And so a company was offered this powdered cheese at this super low price. And so they created this cheesy, you know, corn chip thingy. And I'm not going to name the company. Or how, you know, certain other products came into being. You know, how do you change your palate? You know, how do you change your desire for that kind of processed, fake food items? You know, I don't even know if we can call that food, but how do you change your palate so that you want things that are more natural and more, you know, things that are more recommended, better for the body? What do you say about that?
I think it just takes time, you know, and it takes commitment. So when the patients come in, I just try to, you know, form a pact together. Hey, let's see, what do you like to eat? What are the things that you like? What do you like? Crunchy stuff? Do you like salty things? What is it that, you know, that you crave? And then we just try to find more healthy alternatives to those things. So it takes a little bit of time. I think that when patients are all in for their health and they want to make the changes, it's so much easier for them to change their palate, because it does take time, because your body's going to fight you, and you're going to have some cravings, and we just have to find strategies to overcome those.
So then when the cravings come, you know, that to me is the critical point, right? Because anybody can prepare a nice, healthy dinner that's tasty and all that. But then they're watching TV, right? It's 11 o'clock. A commercial comes on, and all of a sudden you see, you know, something really tasty, and it's either sweet or savory. What do you do then? What do you tell them?
Well, we try to do some discussions about mindfulness, because that's part of it. You know, you can mindlessly eat. That's how a lot of people snack and consume, you know, high calorie, low nutrient things while they're sitting there watching television or watching a movie, or 11, 12 o'clock at night. So we just kind of talk about those things and being really mindful about when we eat. You know, don't eat and drive. Don't eat and go through your phone looking at Facebook. Let's just sit down and enjoy our food, eat slowly, think about, you know, what we're doing. And it really is helpful to keep people from doing, you know, bad things and bad habits. Try to get away from those.
You know, a lot of people have been kind of bored, shut in, and it's really kind of shaken their habits, right? So some people, you know, there's some people who took the pandemic and they decided, you know what, I'm going to improve something. I'm going to study. I'm going to get a certification. I'm going to lose weight. And other people are like, look, I'm exhausted. You know, I am depressed. I'm going to lay on this couch. You know, is there hope for that person that's kind of exhausted and depressed? Is there anything that, you know, we can externally say to motivate them? Or do we just have to wait for them to make up their minds for themselves?
You know what? I think in all healthcare, you know, we want to try to form a partnership, because I can't, you know, I can't go out of here and snatch people off couches. So, you know, if they're...
You could, but that would be a little bit radical.
Yeah. So, you know, usually they will come in and they'll say, you know what, I don't feel good. And we'll talk about, well, what is it that you don't feel good about? I'm just fatigued. Well, let's talk about, then we just talk about everything. Talk about their lifestyle. Talk about their diets. Talk about possible toxin exposure. Talk about possible deficiencies in vitamins and things that may be causing their fatigue. So we try to get down to, you know, the root cause of why they feel the way that they do.
You know, I find that I have two sets of friends, and, you know, this is really a saying when you look at the kind of the wealth community, that, you know, the 5 people you spend the most time with, those are the people that you're going to be most like, right? So I've got like this healthful, active, you know, slender to super skinny friends. And then I've got a bunch of friends that are the exact opposite,
Mhm.
and, I was with one of my, I spent some time recently with a super skinny friend, like one of those size 00s, the thighs don't touch, that whole thing. And I looked at her and I thought, my gosh, you are too small, but, we're friends. She's not my patient. It's really not for me to say. And then I look at my, then I was out to dinner, for a celebration with several people, and most of the people at that table were morbidly obese, and they knew it. They commented on it, and they said, "But I don't care." And it just blows my mind. How often do you encounter that? And sometimes there are family members that are like, doctor, can you help me, with this person or something like that. These two extremes. Do you ever have patients that come in and say, hey, look, I need to gain weight. Will you help me? And then, the people who really need to lose weight who are like, listen, I can't stop myself. What can I do to stop myself? What do you say to each of those? First, the underweight person.
Well, it's funny that you brought up the underweight person, because I was just speaking to a heart surgeon 2 days ago. She's a female. There aren't that many female heart surgeons.
Unfortunately.
And she's very small. And she was telling me, I know you're a weight loss doctor. She says, but I was having problems. I didn't realize that I was so underweight and what I was doing. I said, well, what are you doing to improve it? She says, well, I actually joined Noom. I said, really? I said, because I thought that Noom was helping people with weight loss. I didn't know that it could help you with gaining weight. She goes, oh, yeah. She says, Noom is for all kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
She said, it's really just helped me with my mindfulness. She says,
mindset.
I realized at the end of the day, she says, I would drink coffee in the morning and I go to surgery. At the end of the day, I was like, I didn't eat anything today. I was like, wow. So she says that Noom is helping her to eat. And she says, and look at my chart. And she showed me all of this chart, and she's a whole 107.4 pounds now. So
yay!
I was like, wow, that is awesome. So I guess, I said, well, how much is that Noom? She goes, oh, it's several $100s. She says, but it's worth it. I said, well, good. I'm glad that you're getting more healthy.
Yeah.
But the mindfulness can go both ways.
Right. It can go both ways. And you're right. I think there are some people who are underweight because they're just not thinking about it, right? But I do see some people just really being very purposeful about it. They're having some kind of competition with another group of people around them to be super skinny. And, it's from a health standpoint, there are health risks for being underweight, and it's similar morbidities, just in terms of the health consequences for underweight versus overweight. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, I haven't really, because my specialty is obesity medicine, I haven't worked with very many patients who are underweight and who are struggling with weight gain. So I can't really speak too much to the underweight. But I think what happens is birds of a feather flock together. So you have all the people who love to ride bikes and all the people who love to do yoga and the Peloton Nation. I mean, those people are different.
They are. Oh, my gosh.
So you just find your thing, and those are the people you hang out with. And I find that a lot of times with the patients who are obese. What they do, they're not comfortable with normal sized people or really thin people. They'd rather be with someone who is their size or even bigger. And that makes them feel better a lot of times. And a lot of my patients will say, well, my best friend or my sister or my cousin is bigger than me and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no. We're not talking about your sister, your cousin, your whoever. We're talking about you and your health and what we need to do to improve your health. So I think that's just the thing, just being with people who are like-minded.
You know what? It's funny that you say that about people flocking together, because I tend to be the one who goes to all the flocks, right? I'm a multi-flocker. And so when I'm with that, that heavier flock, I always get one or two comments, and I wait for it, right? And it doesn't offend me or anything. Oh, you're too skinny. You're so skinny. It doesn't matter. You can eat some more of that. And look at you. You always have something healthy on your plate. Things like that. Like it's a bad thing, right? And so I always find that interesting. Because if I said something to them about their size, it would be like bad, right? It would be a war kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, but I am concerned about them, and I'm always trying to think of ways that I can, help them. But I think the motivation is key. When you say, you have to be very motivated and have a certain level of discipline. What happens when you find that some of your clients lose that discipline? What is it that you tell them so that they don't get completely discouraged and give up?
Well, there are stages of contemplation, right? So when patients come in and, they're overweight or obese, I just start talking to them. There has been a study that has shown that a lot of patients who are overweight or obese, they want help. They want the doctor to say, hey, is there something I can do to help you? And there's a large percentage of doctors who just won't even talk or address their obesity at all. So a lot of times I just kind of see where they are, and it's called stages of contemplation. Now, can I name all those stages? No. But the pre-contemplative stage is the stage where they're not interested in weight loss. If you talk with them, say, hey, have you tried to lose weight? Are you interested in weight loss? Is there something I can help you with? No, I'm fine. I don't want to try anything. I don't want to talk about it. Okay, that's fine. Contemplate it as, hey, yeah, maybe I would like to talk about it. What can I do, or what are you offering? So you just kind of have to meet the patient where they are. And, every time they come in, I will say something because I'm trying to help. And eventually sometimes they will go ahead and take the information or try or come back, and they've lost a few pounds or whatever it might be.
In the obesity medicine world, it's a little bit non-politically correct to say, hey, you're obese. So, we talk about it as a diagnosis. You have an obesity diagnosis or what have you. What are some of the words that you use? Are there good code words to use that, don't diminish someone's esteem or make them feel frustrated? Are there certain words that you use, or do you just come out and say, listen, you have an obesity diagnosis. Is there something I can do to help you with that?
No, I never say obesity. So I usually will say, hey, can we talk about the extra weight you're carrying? So that's my line, extra weight you're carrying.
I think that's a good one, extra weight. I've heard a colleague say that, there's a change between, amongst your visits. I bet you're starting to feel that. I think that was a pretty creative one that I heard. And that is a good way of kind of maintaining the self-esteem and everything around obesity and having that diagnosis. So is that why you call your center, it's a wellness center, and you talk about weight management because you don't want to use that word?
Well, it's called Weight Loss and Wellness Center. And it was a vision that I had for my practice. And I wanted to eventually one day be part of a wellness center where there was weight loss being offered, where there was OBGYN services, maybe where there was even breast imaging, family services as far as counseling, license and marriage and family counseling, a physical therapist, and a strength and conditioning coach. I mean, I had a vision of a wellness center with all of these people. Little did I know when I named my practice basically 10 years ago or so that the wellness center part was actually what would become my exposure to functional medicine. So it's just amazing how things just kind of fall together. But the wellness center is about, being well, staying well, reversing disease, those kind of things.
Now, what is the formal name of your center? And if somebody wanted to contact you, because they go online and take a look at your website?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So the name of the practice is Uniquely Fit Medical Weight Loss and Wellness Center. And that I didn't chop it up. Some people have little short things. Yeah. I'm a long-winded person. So that is the name of the website, uniquelyfitmedicalweightloss.com.
You're kidding. That is a little bit long, but it's not too long. It's not too long.
That is just how I am. Our email is uniquelyfitmedicalweightloss@gmail.com. And, when I was first developing this, the lady who was helping me was like, oh, doctor, you got to shorten this. I said, I can't.
I can't do it. I can't. It has to be long.
I can't do it. It's got to be long.
I have a
But
message. I want the full message out there, right? Is that what you were thinking?
that's what and it's my second practice. So, I am an obstetrician gynecologist first by training. So it's unique healthcare for women, and then uniquely fit medical weight loss and wellness center. And then on Instagram, I'm trying to post. I'm there at Uniquely Fit MD.
Okay.
So
it's a little shorter. It's a little shorter. Now, okay, so do you also treat any transgenders? Have you been in that situation yet where a transgender has come to you and they want some assistance with weight management? Do you deal with that at all, or we haven't gotten there yet?
You know what? That hasn't been an opportunity that I've had at my practice at this point.
Okay. I see. Well, it's something interesting to contemplate, because there's a lot of, thoughts around that. And, what metabolism are you really dealing with, when you're working with a transgender? And, it just depends on, I think, how they were born, what the metabolism is, and whether or not they would end up with you. So I think that would be an interesting client for you to get. Another interesting client, I think, is someone who is gaining weight, losing weight, gaining weight, losing weight. How do you get them? And this is going to be our last little discussion here because we're almost done. But how do you get somebody off of the loss, gain kind of roller coaster?
Well, part of that roller coaster is just not sticking to the weight loss journey. And then, so the important part is weight loss is a part-time job. And really could be a full-time job because you really have to change your mind in order to change your life. So, and you're going to have to change some things and situations. Meal prep is so important. So there's going to have to be time made to change your life in order to change the weight. So a lot of people, they do really well. They do the meal prep, they change their life, they change their weight. But the important part is the transition phase. So you need to stick with it. We want you to get to the phase where, hey, you've lost the weight. So now let's start adding more calories. Let's start adding more complex carbohydrates to your diet. And now that you're in this transition phase and you're doing great, now let's move to the sustain phase where you sustain that weight loss. So a lot of that time, we just have to keep connecting because patients that do well in weight loss make constant connections and just hang in there. We're going to lose weight and lose and gain, especially if you have a weight gain problem. Okay. Most people will vacillate between 5 and 10 pounds.
Right.
And when we get beyond that 10-pound mark, well, then we know we need to kick it back into gear.
We're going to have to close there. We want to thank you for your time. We're so glad we had Dr. Carson. She has so much to share. Check her out. Go to her website and then look for her when you see CJ's show. I'm Dr. Cutter, Curetology Surgical Oncology. Health from the inside out. Start within. Thank you.
Thank you.